Just a little bit of logic 101. People who are making a claim have the burden of proof, but that's not the whole story. It is impossible to prove a negative. The person making a positive claim of like the existence of something, logically, because of how science and logic work, they have the burden of proof. For example, I could claim that Santa Claus exists and challenge you to prove it and tell you that you have the burden of proof to show that he doesn't exist. You could not do that. That would be impossible. Let me explain. You could say, look, I'm going to, so let's suppose I claim that Santa Claus does exist and say you have the burden of proof to show that he doesn't. You could charter a helicopter and a flight, put a bunch of researchers and me on a plane and a helicopter and fly over the North Pole and say, look, there's no shop, there's no toy shop down there, so Santa Claus doesn't exist. And I'll just say, well, Santa is a very wise man. He knew you were coming, and so he's hiding. You could get the Russian military or the U.S. military to provide a submarine to go underneath the ice cap if it was winter and say, look, there's no hidden Santa Claus tool shop. And I can say, well, Santa's an interdimensional being, and he accounted for this, and so he's in a different timeline. It's the same sort of thing with you claiming something that's contrary to the established belief, well documented and well supported by all historians, that the United States was part of a movement called the Age of Enlightenment, that we have literature, we have art, we have writings, we have musings in both Europe and the United States. The founding of the United States was part of the Age of Enlightenment. The part of the Age of Enlightenment was to reject religious dogma and to go with a more naturalist thing. You know, you can look at Thoreau's writings. You can look at a lot of different people's writings. You can write the diaries of, if you really want to know if we're a Christian nation, just Google Thomas Jefferson's quote, anti-Christian quotes if you want, and you're going to get a slew of those. You can look at what people wrote, people who knew Washington or was close to them, what they really said about his religious beliefs. And the proof is overwhelming. Now, people who don't want to believe this, they will do something called quote mining. They will find something that one of the person who might kind of be a founding fathers or related to them in some way, who was an Orthodox Christian, might have said, and go, aha, that shatters your whole belief system, and I'm right. Or you could find one or two things that Washington might have said or something like that, or another founding father might have said at one time, and ignore all the other stuff he said. This one thing he said supports what I want to believe, and build a case out of that. Well, that's bad logic. That's not how it works. Conspiracy theorists do this kind of thing. They'll find one thing. Oh, here's another thing that you people like to do. You'll look at something that's a cliche or an expression and build an entire case out of that. Like if someone at that time signed a document that says the year of our Lord, aha, that's proof we're a Christian nation. No, that's proof of there's lots of explanation for facts. What you do is you have to build a theory based on all the facts. Not only do you have to prove what you want to believe, you have to disprove all the stuff that people who are adversaries of what you want to believe, who believe something completely different. You have to prove why they're wrong, not just why you're right. You have to build your case, and you have to build a case against them as well. And you can't do that because they have to write papers. They have to subject them to peer review, and they're gone over by the fine-tooth comb. It's very unlikely you're gonna take accepted history and turn it completely on its head. Conspiracy theory. Also, here's another thing. There's no money in the truth. There's no money in saying what people don't want to believe. There's money in trying to build a case of what people want to believe. And so you got people like Ken Ham that built this creation museum, and you got this guy who wrote Bridge Builders, who takes any mention a founding father said about God and say, aha, it's proof that they believe in the Christian biblical God. That's not the case. Anyway, talking's faster than writing, so I thought I'd make this. And we're done.